Hello, welcome to Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry. I'm Alisa Agnes, and this is the fourth episode about Manifesto. So, at first, let me remind you what this podcast is about. Well, I simply talk about things that inspired my poetry. I kind of paint situations which inspired my works, and sometimes you can find songs that I've written here. So this is what Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry is about. Okay, so right now, a few words about the manifesto. So it's the first thing that opens the first volume of my debut poetry book. The whole thing is called Once Upon a Time There Were Two Poetry Books, while the first volume is called Love, Pain and Other Addictions. And the manifesto about which this episode will be about is simply called Author's Manifesto. So the first part of my manifesto is biography. That's because I believe it was important to tell my readers that I am not an amateur poet, but I get knowledge, and poetry was simply a part of my life for probably my whole life, and that's why I thought it's important to put it out. And the second part of my manifesto is poetics. I explain there why I use some things and why you can find some things, and I believe that it can help you understand my poetry more, but it can also show you the ways of interpretation of my poetry. Well, manifesto also means that I wanted to manifest something. Well, I wanted to encourage other poets to just be themselves, to search for right readers, and when it doesn't come or appear, you simply must wait, because it can happen that you were born in the wrong time, or you haven't met right people yet, and your poetry may not be appreciated and understood. And I think it's not worth to try to make people like you and to be someone you're not. I believe it's important to express ourselves and see just what happens. So if you met with hatred and misunderstanding when it comes to your poetry or anything you write, just know that you're not alone, and one day you will find your audience. Just be patient. So, one more reason why I wrote Manifesto is my astonishment. I met with so much hatred on Wattpad when I published the first volume of my debut poetry book in 2019, and I just felt like I needed to say something about this situation. And Manifesto was my form of, answer. I was surprised that it met with so much hatred and misunderstanding, because in high school I met with so much love. I mean, even my teachers were very kind, and they were just thankful for knowing me and knowing my poetry, and it was a very nice feeling, and I've never thought that my poetry may mean so much to others. I was simply just sharing my thoughts and feelings with the piece of paper. And later I took a part in few competitions because I thought, why not? And when I won everything or just got any prize there, I realized that it's something that I do the best, and maybe it's something that I was meant to, do in my life. And it just made me realize that my poetry has a meaning, and if it was appreciated this way, it means it got some value. And that's why when I graduated and started studies and wanted to do the same thing in the adult life, it was just surprising to me that something that was appreciated before, 2 years before, was suddenly just drowned in hatred. So this manifesto is also such a need to express my astonishment and this feeling, because I just felt like I had to explain why I'm doing all of this. And I think it's the last thing that this manifesto means to me. Well, if you wanna check out the manifesto, you can find the recorded version of it on my YouTube. Just search for Alisa Agnes, and don't forget to subscribe if you like my content. Just search for Alisa Agnes, double L, one S. Oh, and one more thing. I've studied Polish philology, so literature and language, just, in general, but Polish content was obviously the main thing. So I've studied Polish philology for 5 years, and I consider things that I do these days as simply my job. So I get so much knowledge, and I always hear from my mom that I need to share it with people, because it would be such a waste if all my knowledge was just forgotten one day. So I just decided to share it. And when it comes to those prizes and competitions that I've already mentioned, the most important one was a festival which I won in my category in 2016. I was 19 years old then, and it was the most meaningful because I mentioned about this in my manifesto, and that's why I think it's important to explain the whole situation. So I get a call that I need to come for the statue. That's a prize that I won, and it was a very important kind of festival, because it was the kind of competition that is not just about the high school, but about the whole city. And I'm from the district which is called in Polish Praga Północ, and the place where I had to go was another district where my school was, in fact. That's called Praga Południe. It's like Praga North and other part of Warsaw. And it was just very important to me that it was about the whole city and about districts, and not just about one school. And it was also very important for my school, because after that I had my own poetry lesson. I remember I prepared the poetry work for my classmates, and I just talked about things that inspired my poetry. about just writing poetry and what it means to me. Such things that I talk about here on this podcast. So when you are asked to give a lesson and talk about your experience and about poetry during the Polish lesson, I think, yeah, it was really something. And yeah, after graduation, I tried to um, take a part in all the competitions that were about the whole country, I mean Poland. And I tried in 2017. There were 5 competitions, and those poetry pieces that I wrote for them are opening the second volume. And this year I also tried to take a part after 6 years. And I get to the second stage of the competition, but I didn't won anything. But I think it's always nice to try. So this festival stays I think the biggest, the greatest thing that I did in my life. But I'm still young. Well, we see. So, what happened after writing this manifesto? Well, I simply decided to look at my early uh, poetry works, and I decided to simply change them a bit because people on Wattpad were telling me things like, uh, that it's not good, and uh, and I think they were trying to tell me that I wrote a lot of bad quality things. And after writing this manifesto, I thought that maybe I really need to look at these poetry pieces one more time. And after 2 years of studies, I've already had so many ideas, new ideas, and I think a fresher look at poetry and more knowledge. And that's why I decided to give these early works a totally new look. And well, if you want to check out how much it changed, and if you know Polish, then you can check out the third blog of mine, which is called Living Art. You can compare how it changed. I mean, sometimes it's just a title, sometimes it's a word change, and sometimes, I don't know, it's something more. Just if you want to be a detective, then just, I really recommend to play like this. I think in the end, I'm really thankful for this experience because I believe that my poetry is better right now. I mean, the new version of those early pieces. I was really young when I wrote the first version of this first volume, and I was just 13, 19, and now I'm in my 20s. So I guess I get a different look at poetry, and well, I think it's also important to remember that it was my first chapter of, just creating things. Okay, and right now the last thing that must be mentioned. Well, the first volume, I believe that is a romantic thing, while the second volume is in half romantic and in half experimental and totally modern. And I always think about these two volumes as two separate books, and that's why the title of my debut book is Once Upon a Time There Were Two Poetry Books, and that's why the anniversary edition that came out this year is the version made of two separate books, because these two will always be two separate bodies. Well, I've always liked romanticism, but I believe that I realized it in high school. I think during that Polish lesson that I gave after that festival kind of experience, as I've mentioned before. Well, if you like romantic things above all, then I think you will like my debut poetry book, and well, it would mean the world to me if you'd like to buy a copy from my official website, alisaagnes.com, double L, one S, and well, I hope to see you there. Okay, I think I've already said everything in this episode, so I guess it's time to tell you what will happen next. So I've planned for the next month to talk about just one poetry work each week, and there will be 3 such poetry works, and each one I think is the most meaningful to me, and these are examples of something that I think is the best of mine, and it's all in the first chapter of my debut poetry book, volume 1, and the first chapter from which these poetry pieces come from is called The Most Important. The first poetry work about which I will talk next week is called The Road Called Life. Oh, and I also must mention that I've planned to, after that first chapter, to talk always about 2 poetry works, and I will try to talk about 1 song each month, and these songs come from my novel, Laura's Diary, My Awesome Life. So, if you'd like to buy these 2 books, then check out my official website. As I've mentioned before, it's alisaagnes.com, double L, one S. Okay, so that's all today. So until the next time, bye. There always must be something that I forget to mention, and this time it's the meaning of my first volume, Love, Pain and Other Addictions. So, well, you probably wonder what those addictions mean, and you shouldn't treat it literally, because it's simply a philosophical context. Yep.